What up, Caballers? This is my personal viewpoint on this ongoing 1.1 D&D WotC Hasbro OGL. Okay, so I want to. There's a ton of videos out here on the specifics of the leak of what the new OGL could be, if indeed that's what WotC comes out with. The particulars and what that might mean for past, present, and future creators. What that means to their brand, their livelihoods. Excuse me. So I'm going to approach it from a little bit different direction. I'm going to approach it from, I played D&D back in the mid 80s, the box set. I think that was AD&D. I think. Maybe not. There's so many iterations back through there. I'm not exactly sure. But it was the red box set. And I didn't again for a long time. And I've told the story on here before, but not in this capacity and for this reason. So I didn't play again until a year and a half ago. Jump back in with 5e. And obviously by 2021 5e was pretty well established, and there was a ton of third-party stuff that I haven't gotten into a lot as far as, you know, adventures and settings and such. So far, it's been a combination of what is out there spiced up with a couple of different dungeon masters' creativity. But that being said, it was 5e. 5e is what I know, because I hardly even remember the rule set from that red box set. When I'm talking about it with somebody that played then or has played it since then or knows about it, you know, I can talk about it, because once they say something I remember it, and okay, this happened like that, and oh, that's how that went, but I can converse. But 5e is really what I know, and I don't know it wonderfully. I know it from a player's point of view decently, but I would by no means call myself a good player. You know, I'm sure I forget to optimize each turn whenever I have the ability to do so, and there's things tactically I should do different. But regardless, I was very hopeful ever since WotC came out with the whole idea of one D&D, which is in essence 6.0 or 5.5, or however you want to look at it. It's the next iteration after 5e. And I was still hopeful. You know, I heard the stuff about the WotC telling the shareholders that Dungeons and Dragons was under-monetized, and there are ways to go about doing it. And I did expect there to be a push for everyone to leave other virtual tabletops and go to what I expect D&D Beyond to become, with all the micro purchases and the whole bit, which, like my buddy Bob on this channel recently pointed out, is the wrong way to go about doing it. You know, there's a set amount of money, and you can still get all of that money from us, the consumer, without doing it this way and alienating most of your fan base. Bob lined out, you know, you get it from t-shirts and movies and TV shows and cartoons and comic books and you know, licensing agreements where other people are making, you know, toys or whatever the case may be. You can get that we'll spend our money on that. You don't have to kill the competition, as it were. And the whole third party thing being a boon to WotC, I agree with that as well. But my perspective is, I wanted it to be okay. I wanted it to work out because I have a sentimental place in my heart for Dungeons and Dragons. Mid 80s, I'm watching that cartoon from back in the day. I was rebelling against the whole notion of the satanic panic. And I'm obviously not the only one with the recent re-uptake of Dungeons and Dragons from some people who have been out for a long time, like myself. Some of the, you know, influences we've talked about before, you know, there's Stranger Things and Critical Role, and certainly all of that inspired me to want to do it again. And so, given that I have a sentimentality towards Dungeons and Dragons as a brand, I wanted it to work out. I wasn't against trying other RPG systems, TTRPG systems, regardless of what it was. But I just always assumed that Dungeons and Dragons would be my base, my baseline, where I would always go back to. Be it 5e or whatever iteration. But now I'm worried. I'm worried that, as Bob said, Hasbro is looking at this like a toy company and not a multimedia company with a fan base. Rather than get everybody's money from buying the books, which, as Bobby correctly noted, you know, only about 20% of the people buy because it's mostly your dungeon masters, and people like me are just, you know, playing off of their generosity. That's not always the case. I mean, obviously there's other people that spend the money on it, Chad being one. And I have a subscription to D&D Beyond, and I've bought some of the books, the core rulebook set and Total package and Mordekainen and etc. and some of them. And but I only bought them electronically. And if WotC insists on doing this or anything like the leaked document, my problem with bullies is going to force me to chuck that all. I mean, D&D Beyond is a handy tool for character creation. It's handy for being able to look up things on your phone from the rule books or whatever. But you don't need that. I pen and papered character creation for the last 4 decades, because even when I wasn't playing, I was using those character creation tools to help create characters for stories that I was working on. Now, obviously, I ran out of at the time, TSR supplied character sheets from the box set long ago, and we weren't a house in the 80s that had a copy machine in the house, and I didn't go to the library or something and have a bunch printed off. I just took pen to paper or pencil, more likely, and used a generalized notion of their character sheet using, I don't think I ever used the same words that they did, but I used the notion of a character sheet to create characters forever. And while D&D Beyond is really handy for that, and it's in my opinion, a great tool to have for such things, it is by no means necessary. I can go back to pen and paper real easy, and I've never used a virtual tabletop, so not losing anything there if and when WotC puts the virtual tabletop on a D&D Beyond. What I do lose out of that deal is the money that I've spent buying the digital books on D&D Beyond, because I'm confident they're not going to let me have those in PDF form if I choose to allow my subscription to lapse. So that'll just be gone, or theoretically maybe even in the ether if I ever decide to re-up my subscription. But without, at the very least, a subscription to their product, then I will be out the subject material that I've already paid for on their site. And I knew that going in. I just short-sightedly did not consider them making me not want to use their product. So that's on me. That's not on them at all. But it's just very inconvenient. But then again, if and that is cheaper than buying the hardcover books, I'm sure, or the print books. I am virtually certain that the whatever $20-25, whatever it was on each book, or more than that, but better value on a bundle. I'm sure that was cheaper than what I would have paid if I was buying the print copy. So no issues there. Just the fact that if this forces me to let my subscription lapse, then I'm out that I've already paid for. Just another layer of icing on that cake. But then again, if they were to piss me off to that extent, then I probably wouldn't be using their stuff anymore anyways. As Bob mentioned, we've decided that, at least for the things that we create moving forward, which, we hope to do, work on doing kind of continually, we just won't use WotC systems. I don't know what system we will use. I'm really liking the idea of just the system agnostic. I didn't realize what that was. I'd heard the term, read it here and there before, and then a lot more recently with the talk of what people will do if this comes down like this from WotC. And so I asked Bob, and he explained it to me. And that sounds great if you're a creator or if you're a consumer and you play different systems and you could just purchase adventure hooks, plots, arcs, settings that are already fleshed out and everything but sticking your system into it. Whatever system you're trying to choose. For example, since it's the one I know, if you were using a 5e system and we say there's a lich here and he's got 2 cleric attendants and this is how they should be in strength relative to each other and your party based on your party's level, blah blah, and then you just look at your system and say, okay, well, if this was a 5e system that I was playing, this lich would be this level and have these skills and legendary abilities or whatever, and the clerics would be able to do this and that and the other, and here would be their stat blocks. But you could also take that same lich and cleric and temple or ruin or whatever they're in and put it into a different system that use different dice rolls and different everythings than 5e. That seems pretty awesome. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Even if you only ever played up to this point, even if you only ever played 5e and all the stuff you got was, you were buying the adventure books from WotC and that's all you've been playing, to be able to get those cheaper, and all you have to do for the cheaper is to add as the dungeon master, add your system to the fleshed out body of the story that's already there. That seems like a pretty good deal. And from a creative perspective, that is awesome. It opens up everything. You could create whatever comes out of your brain and plug it into anybody's system. And from a marketing perspective, that doesn't pigeonhole you into writing content only for the one system. You're system proof. If you can get your product out in front of the people and they like the product, free market system. But it's in a pretty good position to succeed, I think. So that's creatively, I think that may be the direction we're going. Although Bobby and I have been talking about creating our own system. And Bobby is, whiz bang at such things. And I have good things to add. So, that is something we're kicking around as well. But the system agnostic thing is very interesting to me. And we will explore that further. But that's what, from my perspective, that's what this is. It's sad from a sentimental, looking into my past kind of way. But also, I am a silver linings kind of guy. So it's also exciting because were it not for this, who knows when and if I would have ever heard about system agnostic stuff, or even considered creating content for any other system. It's easy to say, well, you can just go find a game, just try it out. Well, that's just not really easy to do in my geographical area. And obviously there's the things where you can just hop online and find random games to get into. But that is not how I would like to learn a new system. I would much prefer to have that face to face. But regardless, it's exciting that first of all, it's exciting that there's so much passion in the community. Just the outpouring of twits and tweeters and YouTube videos and I'm sure everything else. And the almost universal cooperation of that. I mean, very rarely have I, occasionally I've read something like, well, it's business and you got to do what's business and it's their right to do it. Yep. Fair. Bobby and go check it out. Bob link a video to this, the video that you just did with Chad. And Bobby lays out very well, in my opinion, why if they want to squeeze every dollar out of their customer base, there's a better way to do it. Easier and without leaving them scorched and no longer relevant. They don't have to overplay their hand. We will gladly give them our money to watch good movies. It shouldn't be that big of a stretch for them to see what Marvel did with the Iron Mans and Avengers and Thors and such, to replicate that in the form of fantasy. And hopefully this one coming out with the Chris Pine is a good one. But don't make me boycott that movie. I've been waiting so long for a good D&D movie. So, especially if this one is good, don't do this and make me not even be able to watch that movie. But make your money there. Make your money on the movies and the Netflix shows or whatever, comic books, t-shirts, cartoons, animated series, all of it. Do it all. Make it all. We'll give it to you. You can take my money. But don't do it like this. And that's my perspective. Please don't ruin something that I've had sentimental value in for going on 40 years. Just a couple years shy of 40 years. And I just got excited about it again within the last couple years. Don't run us off. Your game is in better shape. Your brand. It's not about the game. The game is how you get people in. That's the sideshow Barker. He gets us in the door, and then we give you all of our money on the stuff that we want. The game gets us in the door, and we'll give you all the monies. We'll go to your movies. We'll buy your action figures. We'll buy your t-shirts. And proudly pimp your brand. But if you do this, there's not going to be very many people pimping the fancy ampersand. That's my perspective.